In life, being kind is a virtue, but being too friendly can become a curse. Just like sugar sweetens tea, but too much spoils it, our nature should be pleasant, not overexposed. The world is not only made of friends, it's made of tests, lessons, and boundaries. If we give unlimited access to our time, energy, and emotions to everyone, we'll be drained before we can serve the purpose God has written for us. Remember, God gave you a heart to share, but also a mind to protect it. Many people confuse friendliness with wisdom. They think that being available 247, saying yes to every request, and opening up every detail of their life to everyone makes them loved. But in reality, it often makes them taken for granted. Even the sun rises and sets. It doesn't shine all day. In the same way, our interactions need balance. True spirituality is not about pleasing everyone, it's about pleasing God through our actions, words, and the company we choose. Today, I want to share with you how to remain warm and kind, yet firm and wise, so that you can protect your peace, your values, and your mission. You see, my friends, in life, kindness is beautiful, but unguarded kindness can become self-destruction. Imagine this: you have a beautiful garden filled with flowers, fruits, and fragrant herbs. People walk past your garden, admire its beauty, and even ask for a flower or a fruit. Out of your kindness, you give them. That's generosity. But now imagine if you removed the fence, left the gate open, and said, "Come whenever you like, take whatever you want." What would happen? One day you will wake up to see your garden trampled, the soil hard, and nothing left to give. That, my dear friends, is what happens when we live without boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out, they are gates to let the right people in. They are not signs of selfishness, they are signs of self-respect. And most importantly, when they are guided by God, they are signs of wisdom. Just like the walls of a temple protect the sacred deity inside, our boundaries protect the sacredness of our heart, mind, and soul. Sometimes we think, if I keep saying yes, people will love me more. But the truth is, those who truly value you will respect your no as much as your yes. God did not create you to be a people pleaser. He created you to be a truth follower. I remember meeting a young man once who told me, "Sir, I feel so drained. Everyone comes to me with their problems, and I can't refuse them. I give my time, my money, my energy, and in the end, no one is there when I need help." I smiled and said, "My friend, you are like a well. Lets anyone draw water endlessly, but never waits for the rain to fill it back up. Even the purest well runs dry if it is never replenished." Boundaries are the way you refill your well. They are the pause you take to pray, to meditate, to reflect, and to recharge. Without them, even your service to God become weak, because you will have nothing left to give. But here's the important part. Boundaries are not made from ego, they are made from clarity. Ego says, "I don't care about you, so stay away." Clarity says, "I care about myself and my purpose, so I must protect my energy." Ego shuts people out, boundaries let the right ones in. In daily life, setting God-guided boundaries can be as simple as saying, "I will not let work calls disturb my prayer time." Or, "I will listen to a friend's problem, but I will not absorb their negativity." Or, "I will be kind to everyone, but I will not tolerate disrespect." These are small but powerful acts that keep your spirit healthy. And remember, boundaries are not about limiting love. They are about preserving it. If you keep giving and giving without caring for yourself, eventually your giving will turn into resentment. But when you set limits, you are able to serve with joy, not out of obligation. Think of the sun. It doesn't shine 24 hours a day. It rises, it sets, it gives light and warmth when it's time, and it rests so it can return with full strength. If even the sun follows boundaries, why do we think we can live without them? God teaches us balance. Too much closeness with the wrong people can cloud our wisdom. Too much availability can make us invisible in the eyes of others. Just like a precious jewel is kept in a box, not left lying in the street, our time, energy, and love must be given with discernment. And yes, when you set boundaries, some people will be upset. Some will say, "You've changed." But remember, you are not here to keep everyone comfortable. You are here to keep your soul aligned with God's will. If saying no to someone means saying yes to your peace, your purpose, and your spiritual growth, then that no is the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for them. So, my friends, start asking yourself, is this relationship, this conversation, this activity pulling me closer to God or pulling me away? If it's pulling you away, then it's time to draw the line. Boundaries are not the end of kindness. They are the beginning of authentic kindness. Because when you protect your peace, you can give your best self to the world. And when you give your best self, you are honoring the gift of life that God has given you. So today, build your fence. Keep it open for the ones who water your garden, and keep it closed for those who trample it. That way, your garden will always bloom, your well always have water, and your heart will always have the strength to love, the way God intended. My friends, one of the greatest illusions of our time is this. People believe that being liked by everyone is the same as being respected by everyone. They believe that the more smiles they get, the more nods of approval they collect, the more valuable they are. But I tell even God is not loved by all, yet He is still God. Popularity is like perfume, sweet, attractive, pleasant for a while, but it fades quickly. Depth is like fragrance from a flower rooted in the earth. It lasts, it lingers, it touches the soul. In our modern world, especially with social media, we see people chasing likes, chasing followers, chasing applause. But here's the true thing: applause can be loud but empty. 1,000 people camp for you today and forget your name tomorrow. But one genuine soul who understands you, values you, and stands with you through storms, that's worth more than a stadium of strangers cheering for you in good weather. Let me share a small story. There was once a musician who played beautiful, soul-touching music on the street. People would stop, listen for a few seconds, smile, and drop coins into his case. One day, he was invited to play at a grand hall for a small, private audience. Only 15 people were there. At first he thought, I played for hundreds in the street, why so few here? But as he played, he saw something different. These 15 people didn't just hear the music, they felt it. They didn't just pass by, they stayed. They didn't just throw coins, they gave heartfelt thanks. That day, he realized, it's not about how many hear you, it's about how deeply they connect with what you share. This is how a relationship should be. Stop trying to be everyone's favorite. Stop trying to win over the whole world. Instead, focus on being truly known and truly valued by the right people. Because the truth is, the whole world cannot understand your journey, and it's not supposed to. Even the ocean, my friends, is vast, but when you drink from it, it's salty. Fresh water is found in smaller, deeper wells. Similarly, when we try to spread ourselves thin to please everyone, our connections become shallow. But when we invest in a few people deeply, those bonds give life. Choosing depth means you value quality over quantity. It means you'd rather have 3 real friends who will walk into the fire with you than 3,000 acquaintances who only remember you when they need something. And sometimes, depth means you will be misunderstood by the crowd. You will not always say what's popular, you will say what's true. You will not always do what's expected, you will do what's right. And yes, the crowd might turn away, but the right people will draw closer. Look at nature. A tree that grows tall without strong roots will fall with the first strong wind. But a tree with deep roots can stand through storms. Your relationships are the same. Depth gives strength. So how do we build depth? We slow down. We listen more than we speak. We remember small details. We make time for people even when it's not convenient. And we allow them to see the real us, not the perfect mask we wear for the public. Depth requires courage. It's easier to be liked by many for what you pretend to be than to be loved by a few for who you truly are. But the peace that comes with authenticity is worth more than the comfort of fitting in. I'll tell you something important. When you live for popularity, you live for today. When you live for depth, you live for eternity. Because God does not look at how many liked you, He looks at how many lives you touched deeply. So, my friends, stop watering every plant in the field just to be seen. Water the few seeds that God has put in your care, and they will grow into trees that shelter you and give fruit for years to come. Don't be a celebrity in a crowd of strangers. Be a hero in the hearts of a few who truly matter. In the end, the people who cry at your funeral will not be the ones who double-tapped your photos online. They will be the ones you sat with, laughed, prayed with, and stood with through the storms of life. Choose depth, not popularity, because depth lasts and popularity fades like a passing cloud. My friends, there is one thing we all have in common. No matter where we are from, no matter our age, no matter our background, and that is energy. It is the invisible fuel that powers every word we speak, every step we take, every dream we chase. And here is the truth: how energy is not unlimited. It is a gift from God, and like any divine gift, it must be used wisely. Think about your phone battery. Every day, you are careful not to waste it. You close extra apps, you dim the brightness, you avoid unnecessary usage because you know, once the battery is gone, the phone is useless until recharged. Now ask yourself, why do we protect our phone battery more than our own mental, emotional, and spiritual energy? Every day, we wake up with a certain amount of energy. God has given us this strength to use for meaningful things, for fulfilling our purpose, helping those in genuine need, and living in alignment with what is right. But what happens? We give it away to arguments that don't matter, to people being chose, to people who drain us, to endless scrolling, to gossip, to worrying about things that are not even in our control. By the time we do the things that truly matter, we have nothing left. I once met a woman who was always exhausted, even though she was not physically sick. She told me, "I don't understand. I eat well, I sleep enough, but I still feel drained." I asked her, "How much of your day is spent doing things that give you peace? How much is spent with people who inspire you?" She paused, thought about it, and quietly said, "Almost none." That was her answer. It's not just the hours of sleep that recharge us. It's the quality of what we allow into our mind and heart. Protecting your energy is not selfishness. It is self-respect. When you protect your energy, you are protecting your ability to serve, to love, to create, to grow. You are honoring the gift that God has given you. There is a proverb that says, You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you spend your day pouring into everyone else's life without refilling yourself, you will eventually feel empty, frustrated, and burnt out. That's why we must become conscious of where our energy goes. Think about it this way. If you had a bag of gold coins to last you the whole month, would you throw them at anyone who asks? Or would you give them with intention, knowing their value? Your energy is even more precious than gold. Every wise you give to something meaningless is a no to something important. In daily life, protecting your energy could mean politely excusing yourself from negative conversations, saying no to invitations that bring you stress, or taking time each morning to pray, meditate, or reflect before the noise of the world begins. They're chosen. It could mean spending more time with people who uplift you rather than those who constantly complain. Even nature understands energy management. The seasons change not only for beauty, but for balance. Trees shed their leaves in autumn to conserve energy for the harsh winter. Flowers close at night to preserve their strength for the morning. If nature itself knows when to rest and when to bloom, shouldn't we? And yes, sometimes protecting your energy will disappoint people. They may call you distant, changed, or selfish. But remember, those who truly care for you will respect your need to recharge. Those who love the real you will want you to be at your best. I remember a wise monk once told me, every interaction is an exchange of energy. Some people fill you, others drain you. The key is to be aware and to choose carefully. That awareness is what keeps your heart light and your spirit strong. Protecting your energy also means avoiding the habit of overthinking. Sometimes our exhaustion comes not from what we do, but from what we dwell on. Worrying endlessly about the future or replaying the past in our minds consumes more energy than we realize. That's why surrendering to God's plan is so powerful. It frees you from carrying unnecessary burdens. And here's the most important part. When you protect your energy, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for everyone you serve. If you want to be a good friend, a strong parent, an inspiring leader, or a dedicated servant of God, you need strength. You cannot inspire others from a place of exhaustion. So, my friends, ask yourself today, where is my energy going? Am I spending it on what brings me closer to my purpose? Or am I wasting it on things that leave me empty? The answer will tell you why you feel the way you do and what you need to change. Energy is sacred. It is the breath of God flowing through you. Don't waste it on battles that don't matter, on people who don't value it, or on habits that weaken your spirit. Guard it, nurture it, and use it for what truly matters. And you will find that you have more strength, more peace, and more joy than you ever thought possible. My friends, politeness is a beautiful quality. A gentle voice, a respectful smile, a patient ear. These are signs of inner strength. But in our world today, too many people mistake politeness for weakness. They think, if you're soft-spoken, you can be pushed around. If you are patient, you can be taken for granted. But let me tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. Politeness is not weakness, it is self-control. It is the art of staying calm in situations where others would explode. It is the discipline of holding your tongue when you could easily hurt someone with your words. Weakness reacts without thinking. Strength responds with wisdom. I once knew a man who ran a small business. He was known for his calm nature and respectful tone. Even when customers were rude, he would smile and handle the situation with grace. One day, a supplier tried to take advantage of his kindness, delaying deliveries and making excuses. People around him said, "You're too soft. You should shout and threaten him." But the man didn't raise his voice. He raised his standards. He quietly ended the contract and found another supplier. The same people who once called him weak now respected him because saw that his politeness was not helplessness. It was strength wrapped in dignity. This is the difference, my friends. Weakness allows mistreatment. Politeness addresses it with calm firmness. Weakness says ice when it means no, out of fear. Politeness says no when it must, but with respect. Think of water. It is soft to the touch, yet it can carve through rock over time. It adapts, it flows, but it is powerful beyond measure. That's how politeness works. It doesn't need to shout to make an impact. It quietly transforms situations and people. In our daily life, there will be times when people test our boundaries. Someone may speak to you harshly, try to manipulate you, or expect more than they give. In those moments, you have a choice: respond with aggression, respond with silence, or respond with polite firmness. Aggression creates enemies, silence allows abuse, but polite firmness commands respect. Many people think that if they are polite, they have to be agreeable all the time. That is not true. You can disagree without being disrespectful. You can refuse without being rude. This is where the real strength lies, in knowing how to stand your ground without stepping on others. I remember once being in a crowded market where a young man accidentally stepped on another man's foot. The man whose foot was stepped on turned angrily, ready to shout. But the young man immediately said, "I'm so sorry, brother, it was my mistake." The anger on the other man's face melted instantly. That apology, that simple act of politeness, avoided a fight. You see, weakness would have been to walk away in fear. Strength was to own the mistake politely and diffuse the tension. God Himself teaches us balance, to be compassionate, but also to be just, to be humble, but also to be firm in truth. If all we have is softness without strength, we will be taken advantage of. But if all we have is strength without softness, we will become hard and bitter. True politeness is the harmony of the two. And here's something important. People often test you to see what they can get away with. If you always bend to please, they will take more. But if you respond with calm boundaries, they learn where the line is. This is why polite firmness is so powerful. It teaches others how to treat you without hostility. Politeness also protects your energy. When you lose your temper, you waste energy on anger and regret. When you remain calm and polite, you keep your peace while still addressing the problem. This is not about suppressing your feelings. It's about channeling them with wisdom. In nature, a tree does not need to shout to show its strength. It stands tall, rooted, and unshaken no matter the wind. That's what we must be, grounded in our values, unshaken by others' opinions, and polite enough to let our strength speak for itself. So, my friends, the next time someone mistakes your politeness for weakness, remember this: you are not here to prove yourself to everyone. You are here to live in a way that aligns with your dignity and God's principles. Let people talk. Let them assume. In time, your quiet strength will speak louder than any argument. Because real strength doesn't need to roar. Real strength stands with grace, speaks with kindness, and acts with purpose. My friends, there is a big difference between reflecting kindness and absorbing negativity. A mirror reflects exactly what stands before it. It shows truth. But a doormat simply lies there, allowing people to step on it, wipe their dirt on it, and walk away without a thought. Some people live like mirrors. They reflect honesty, positivity, and reality. Others live like doormats. They absorb other people's bad moods, disrespect, and ungratefulness until they are worn out and torn. And here's the true thing: being a mirror is an act of strength. Being a doormat is an act of self-neglect. I remember meeting a young woman who was known for her helpful nature. Everyone came to her with problems, and she never refused. If someone spoke to her harshly, she forgave instantly. If someone made unreasonable demands, she fulfilled them without question. On the surface, people praised her as so nice and always there for everyone. But inside, she was exhausted, sad, and feeling invisible. One day, she said to me, "Why do I feel so empty when I've done nothing but help people?" And I told her, "Because you've been living like a doormat, giving without reflection, absorbing without boundaries. You need to become a mirror. A mirror does not lose its shine by reflecting truth. If someone smiles at it, it reflects that smile. If someone frowns, it reflects that too, without holding on to it. The mirror doesn't keep the image, it simply shows it and lets it go. In the same way, we must learn to reflect behavior, not carry the burden of others' emotions or actions. Being a mirror means you giveness where kindness is given, and you stand firm when disrespect is shown. It means you show people how they are behaving, gently but clearly, so they understand the impact of their actions. Too often, people confuse unconditional love with unconditional tolerance. Yes, we must love others without limits, but tolerating abuse, manipulation, or constant disrespect is not love. It is enabling harmful behavior. God does not ask us to allow others to damage our spirit. He asks us to protect the temple of our heart. In daily life, being a mirror could mean calmly telling a friend, "When you cancel plans last minute, it makes me feel unimportant." Or telling a coworker, "I understand you're stressed, but please don't speak to me in that tone. This is not rudeness, this is reflection." You're showing them what they may not see in themselves. A doormat stays silent when stepped on. A mirror speaks truth when necessary. A doormat absorbs dirt. A mirror reflects it back, saying, "This is what you brought." And here's the beauty. When you live like a mirror, you inspire change. Sometimes people don't realize they're hurting others until someone reflects it back. Your honesty can be the gentle nudge that makes someone more aware, more kind, more respectful. I once heard a wise monk say, "A mirror doesn't bend to make someone look better, it shows them reality." In relationships, this means you should not distort yourself to keep others comfortable. Be authentic, be real. If someone loves you only when you let them walk over you, that's not love. That's convenience. We must also remember, a mirror shines only when it is clean. This means our own hearts must be clear of grudges, bitterness, and ego. If we carry too much negativity ourselves, our reflections will be distorted. That's why spiritual practice, prayer, and self-care are so important. They keep our mirror clear. In nature, even the calmest lake reflects the mountains and sky perfectly only when it is still. The moment it is disturbed, the reflection is broken. In the same way, to be a good mirror for others, we must keep our own mind still and steady, not reactive. And yes, when you stop living like a doormat, some people will leave. They were there only because you made life easy for them at your own expense. Don't be afraid of that. Let them go. The ones who value you will stay, and they will appreciate your honesty and strength. Living as a mirror means you know your worth. You treat others well, but you do not them wipe their negativity on you. You listen, but you do not allow their problems to become your permanent burden. You give, but you also protect yourself from being drained. So, my friends, ask yourself today, am I a mirror or a doormat? Do I reflect truth with clarity, or do I lie there quietly while my spirit is stepped on? The answer will show you why you feel the way you do in your relationships. Be a mirror, clear, strong, and true. Let your reflection teach others. Let your shine remain no matter who stands before you. And let your life be an example that kindness and strength can live together. Because that is the way God intended. Not for us to be walked over, but for us to stand tall and reflect His light into the world. My friends, one of the big reasons people feel tired, anxious, and unfulfilled is because they are trying to live for too many judges. They wake up every morning thinking, what will people say if I do this? What will they think if I don't do that? And slowly, without realizing it, they hand over the steering wheel of their life to the opinions of others. But here's the true thing. You can live trying to please the whole world, and still there will be people who criticize you. The world has a habit. It praises you in one breath and questions you in the next. That is why you must remember, you are not here to pass everyone's test. You are here to pass God's test. Think about this. If a student tried to answer every question from every book ever written, they would never finish an exam. In life, your exam is set by God, not by the crowd. The questions you must answer are, am I living in truth? Am I following my values? Am I doing what is right, even if no one is watching? I once met a young man who left a high-paying job to work for an environmental because he cared about deeply. His relatives called him foolish. His friends said he was throwing his life away. But he told me, if I don't do this, I'll be rich in bank account but bankrupt in my soul. Years later, the same people who doubted him respected him for his work. Why? Because he didn't live for their approval. He lived for his purpose, and that purpose was aligned with God's principles. The problem with living for people's approval is that it's like chasing the horizon. No matter how fast you run, it keeps moving. You can be the ripest, sweetest mango in the world, and someone will still say, I don't like mangoes. If you base your happiness on others' opinions, you will always be restless. When you remember that you are accountable to God, your decisions become clear. You stop asking, will people like me for this? And start asking, is this the right thing to do? You stop measuring success by applause and start measuring it by peace of heart. In daily life, this can be as saying no to gossip, even if everyone else is participating. It can mean speaking up for someone being treated unfairly, even if it makes you unpopular. It can mean walking away from a profitable deal that is dishonest, even if people call you narvi. These moments are not easy, but they are the moments that define your character in God's eyes. There's a saying, when you please God, it does not matter who you displease. When you displease God, it does not matter who you please. This is not about arrogance. It's about clarity. Your life is not a popularity contest. It is a spiritual journey. Look at great figures in history. Saints, reformers, leaders. Most of them were criticized in their time. They were misunderstood, mocked, even attacked. But they stood firm because they knew who they were living for. They understood that truth does not always win votes, but it always wins in the end. And yes, when you start living for God's approval, some people will drift away. They may call you stubborn, strange, or overly serious. But others, the ones who share your values, will be drawn to you. The crowd will thin, but the connections will deepen. When I was traveling once, I met an elderly man in a small village. He lived a very simple life. No fancy clothes, no luxury, no big house. Yet his face was glowing with peace. I asked him the secret. He said, I stopped living for the eyes of the village. I started living for the eyes of the one who sees everything. That was his entire secret. And it was enough to make his life beautiful. Living for God's accountability also frees you from fear. Fear often comes from wondering, what will they think? But when you realize that are just human beings like you, limited, imperfect, and temporary, their opinions lose power over you. God's opinion, however, is eternal. And when you align yourself with that, you walk with a quiet confidence. You no longer need to shout about your worth because you know your worth is already seen by the one who matters most. So, my friends, the next time you face a decision, remember this: at the end of your life, you will not stand before a panel of neighbors, relatives, or social media followers. You will stand before God. And the question will not be where you liked, it will be where you true. Live for that answer. Make your choices for that day. And you will find that life becomes lighter, decisions become clearer, and your heart becomes freer. Because when you stop living for the noise of the crowd, you start hearing the voice of God. And that voice will guide you better than any opinion ever could.